Good morning to all of you. Today we are having pleasure with us Dr. Suresh Kumar and Mr. Justin George K. Dr. Suresh Kumar will take the application of remote sensing in watershed management, while Mr. Justin George K. will take the basics of remote sensing. So, two luminaries are there with IIRS. They are working, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. Dr. Suresh Kumar is having the large experience of working in Indian Institute of Remote Sensing as a scientist, SG, and group head. Agriculture and Soils Department at Agriculture, IIRS, that is Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Government of India, Dehradun. He has vast experience in application of remote sensing and GIS application in natural resources. He is graduated and doctorate from Govind Vallabh Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar, and he did completed PhD in 1993. And since then, he is serving in ISRO at various scientist position, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. He has done commendable research and published 26 numbers of research papers in international journal, 30 number of research papers in national journal, and he has contributed chapters in books, and he has carried out several research projects as principal investigator of the project as mountain ecosystem processes and services, assessing soil erosion and nutrient loss and its impact on soil quality and crop productivity. Digital soil mapping using environmental covariates for mountainous regimes, etc. He is life member of various professional societies such as Indian Society of Remote Sensing Dehradun, Indian Society of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, NBSS and LUP Nagpur, Indian Association of Soil and Water Conservation, and he is very good and expert in his domain. So I will request for him and Mr. Justin George to take care of. And Justin George, sir, is MSc from IIRI and he is scientist, engineer as SD in the same institute, that is Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Dehradun. Good morning, Justin sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you, sir? Happy New Year.
Fine, I am fine. I have already introduced you and
Okay, sir.
Suresh.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes. To me, it is audible.
Okay, sir.
Your topic is basics of remote sensing.
Okay, right, sir.
Okay. So I think you can start now
Okay,
for
right, sir.
the basics of remote sensing. So once again, I wish Happy New Year to all my students and those who are attending it, and to Justin George sir, and he will deliver on basics of remote sensing. Now over to Justin George sir.
Sir, the basically the audience are basically agriculture students or other people are
Yes,
also
yes,
there.
agriculture students.
Okay,
They are agriculture students,
okay, sir.
BSc and MSc both. Okay.
Sir, is it visible? The slides are visible, sir.
No, slides are not visible now.
Is it visible, sir, right now? Hello? Visible है ना? हाँ, सारे सारे तो नहीं। ठीक, okay. So, good morning, everyone, all the participants who are attending this particular lecture, and to Dr. C.S. Pandey, Dr. Arnab Khada, and all the other colleagues who have worked behind arranging this webinar series. A very good morning to all, and I wish you a safe, happy, and prosperous year ahead, and a happy new year. So, as Dr. Pandey has conveyed me, basically the people who are attending are basically agriculture students. So we will be dealing mainly with the basics of remote sensing, and we will just highlight what are the different few applications of remote sensing and GIS in agriculture also. So nowadays, we people have been hearing it more and more regarding a term which is known as the geospatial technology. It is basically defined as the discipline of gathering, storing, processing, and delivering geographic information or spatially referenced information. What is meant by geographic information? We will be seeing it later. And the geospatial technology, it's an umbrella term within which comes basically the remote sensing. That is mainly the Earth observation systems, the sensors with various spatial, temporal, as well as electromagnetic regions, and the different geophysical products. And GIS is basically a tool to link, view, analyze all the spatially referenced data in different formats. And the GNSS, the people might be using GPS locations in your mobiles. It's an application of GNSS only, mainly using locations as well as mobile mapping. Then the various field sensors, sensor-based web, automatic weather stations, etc., as well as all these combined with information technology, ultimately help us in the application of all these things is that it will help in making certain decisions based on a very well-informed output. So basically directly coming into the remote sensing, it is defined as the science and art of obtaining, we are trying to obtain information about an object, an area, or a phenomenon by analyzing the data acquired by a device or an instrument which is not in physical contact with the object, area, or phenomenon under investigation. So there are two terms. First one is the remote. The term remote is used because the observation is done at a distance without physical contact, and sensing means we are sensing something. The instrument is sensing something, that is the detection of energy. It may be light or sound or other electromagnetic radiations also. Picture clearly shows the concept of remote sensing. So ultimately, the aim of remote sensing is that it enables us to observe and study the nature, our Earth, as well as the extraterrestrial things also in different ways that would otherwise be beyond the human capability, in terms of both in terms of distances as well as the wavelengths of light, which are invisible to human eyes. So basically, we are actually acquiring and processing the images which record the interaction between the electromagnetic energy and the matter, or the any feature present on their surface. It interact with the electromagnetic energy, whether it is from the sun or from the other active sensors, and it will be reflected or as well as emitted. So we use mainly the sensors as well as platforms. They are used to create image data of the Earth. A sensor is basically the device which records an electromagnetic energy, and whereas the platform is the carrier bed used to carry a sensor. If you consider yourself as a with respect to remote sensing, your entire body or you as a person is a platform, and your eyes using the organ with which you see the things, that is a sensor. And coming to the different types of platforms used in the world, many of things you might have heard. I am sure that you might have seen these drones nowadays used in various programs, marriages, and other public functions to capture. This is also a form of platform only. So it contains a camera. This camera is basically the sensor. So there are different types of sensors, like the ground based. From the ground at a different certain distance from the ground we capture. Whereas the airborne, it comes aircrafts as well as the drones. Then comes the spaceborne, which are basically the satellites which revolve around the sun at different specific around the earth at different specific orbits. So depending on the increase in the height or the decrease in the height, our coverage also varies. So if we are observing from a satellite, the coverage will be very high. And mainly there are two types of satellites. First one is known as the category is the geostationary satellite, and second is the sun synchronous satellites. The geostationary satellites are mainly, they revolve at an elevation of around 36,000 kilometers from the Earth's surface, and they complete one orbit around the Earth in 24 hours. They are mainly good for repetitive observations, and they are mainly used for the communication and meteorological applications. That means mainly our mobile network, our television, radio, television channels, other meteorological applications for weather updates and all. These satellites are mainly put into use. Whereas the sun synchronous satellites, they revolve at an elevation of around 700 to 800 kilometers from their surface, and they cross the equator. They revolve from the north to the south direction, whereas the other geostationary, they revolve in the earth east to west direction. They cross the equator at the same local sun time, so we get an observation at the same time on every day or every day at a particular point. If you observe Dehradun, it will pass around 10:30 through Dehradun. So today, if we get an image of Dehradun at 10:30, then maybe after, depending on the satellite, maybe after 10 or 15 days, we will get the observation at the same time. And this is mainly used for the Earth observation or the true sense of remote sensing. And these are basically the sensors, the device which measures and records the electromagnetic energy. And there are two categories of sensors. First one is the passive, and the second one is active. In case of passive sensors, the light source is basically the sun. The radiation emitted by the sun, it gets into the surface. It is either reflected or refracted or re-radiated. That is captured by the passive sensors. Whereas in case of active sensor, in the particular image itself, we can see it first emits certain sources of energy, then whatever energy is reflected back, it records back. So these are basically the active sensors. The microwave sensors although comes under the active category. So in nutshell, this is the remote sensing process. We have an energy source from the sun. It may be sun in case of passive, or in active, it may be the sensor. From the sun, the energy is emitted, and there are clouds and the atmosphere. There may be some amount of energy will be lost. The rest of energy will be reaching the earth surface. There are buildings, there are trees, there are agricultural crops. So there will be reflection. Some amount will be absorbed for photosynthesis and other activities. The other rest will be emitted back. And when in the return journey also, the atmospheric effects are there, then the sensor will capture. The whatever energy or the data is captured by the sensor, that will be sent to the ground receiving and the processing stations. And it will be assisted by the satellite communication. The ground receiving and processing stations, They process the data and they may use for various applications like land use, atmosphere, hydrology, agriculture, forestry, and many other things. So coming to the electromagnetic spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum is it ranges from the shorter wavelengths, including the gamma rays and X-rays. They are mainly used for planetary remote sensing, not for our normal terrestrial remote sensing and astronomical studies. To longer wavelengths, they mainly include microwaves and the broadcast radio waves. Our radio signals, FM, and all those things work on this particular wavelength range. So there are different regions in the electromagnetic spectrum which are useful for remote sensing. The first one, these are gamma rays, X-ray, UV. These are mainly used for planetary and other studies. The visible range, this is the only wavelength range which human beings or we people can see. That is violet, blue, red, and indigo. This is the color of the rainbow. Then beyond that, there is a region known as reflected infrared, then thermal infrared, then there are microwave as well as the radio waves. So the basis of all the remote sensing sensors and other things comes under the spectral reflectance curve. So if we plot the reflectance of each different features, this is the reflectance percentage. Reflectance is basically the ratio of how much amount of light is falling on an object and how much is going back. That the ratio is known as reflectance. So at different wavelengths, the different features behave like this. You can see the vegetation, there is a small peak. We see vegetation in the form of green color because we are but only able to see this particular peak. But if some person or our eyes are able to detect infrared radiations, luckily or unlikely, we are not able to do that. But there is a very big peak. That means if the reflectance in the green color is only 17%, 17 to 18%. In case of infrared radiation, the vegetation may reflect nearly 50% reflectance is there. So if we can capture this particular peak or the reflectance in infrared, we can easily distinguish between the different features. Similarly, in case of soil also, the reflectance keep on going on increasing with respect to wavelength, whereas in case of water, there is no reflectance beyond 0.7 or 0.8. So these are the different features, and the different sensors are located at these different particular wavelength regions. So what we have discussed, the vegetation is mainly depending on the amount of the variations or the peak characteristics. They mainly depend on the leaf pigmentation, the thickness, the structure, as well as the amount of water. That's why when the crop gets matured and it is near to harvesting, the green color losses and it we see in the form of yellow or dark brown or something. So these are mainly the changes in the pigmentation as well as the thickness as well as the water content. In bare soil, the moist as well as the wet soil, they will be having a darker color because the lower reflectance. Similarly, the water also, it reflects electromagnetic energy in the visible up to the near infrared range. So what the sensors capture, they basically give a digital image. So the digital image, if you see a particular region, the digital image is in the form of array of numbers. It's like an Excel sheet only. It is the image, the data is stored in a regular grid format, and each of the single grids or each of the single cells, they are known as pixels. You might have heard your mobile configurations are all in megapixels. That means a particular within a small distance, how much a number of pixels. Higher the number of pixels, higher the detailing you will be able to capture in an image. So in each pixel, you are having certain numbers. These numbers are designated as digital numbers. They represent the spectral reflectance value in comparison. And for each measured wavelength range, we have a separate data, and each separate data is stored in the form of a band or a channel or a layer. And there are 4 types of resolutions which mainly determine the image characteristics. First thing is known as the spatial resolution. Spatial resolution means what is the smallest unit or the area which can be measured on the ground by a satellite sensor. If you see these particular images, these are all the images of a same region. You can see this small box is there, a yellow colored box. That area is zoomed in different images. You can see here, that means the 1 pixel is 360 meters. That means all the objects within the distance of 360 meter, that will be considered as a single reflectance value. So here nothing is clear. You can see there are something we can't make anything. But when it comes to 188, we can see that there is some difference between this particular portion and this particular portion. This red portion as well as this white portion. When we come to the 72 meters, when we come to this 72 meters, we can see there is some particular structure here, and there is a red colored things on the other side. When we go to the 36 meter, we can see clearly this structure, And when it goes to 23 meters, you can see much more detailing is there. And when we go to 5.80, we can even see the rooftop of each of these different buildings. So this indicates the smallest measurable distance. That means we can more with higher resolution, the more and more finer objects can be distinguished. But it's not necessary that we should always use the very high resolution. It depends on your purpose as well as the area characteristics you want to address. Here also in this image also you can see the detailing in 1 kilometer a pixel, 360 meter, 188, and how it comes to even there are even images of having 1 meter. That means if two persons are standing at a distance of 1.5 meter, we can detect those two persons in two different cells or pixels. And depending on the application, I told the resolution we choose to work with also changes. First one is the meteorology, the cloud patterns, the movement, the water vapor analysis, and all those things. We require a much coarser resolution because those are the phenomena which occur on a very large temporal spatial scale. Whereas in case of oceanography, the land use, land cover, agriculture, field monitoring, and all those things, we require a slightly higher amount of resolution. That means up to the tune of 10 to 15 meters. And for military purpose and other defense purpose and all, we require very accurate resolutions of the tune of centimeters. And next is the spectral resolution. Spectral resolution is the nothing but the ability of a sensor to define fine wavelength intervals. That means the same object or the same area can be observed in different wavelengths like blue, green, red, and different parts. So in the blue, what is the reflectance of the blue wavelength in this particular range? What is the green? So, and there is something concept known as panchromatic. In case of panchromatic, there is only single band. That means the blue, green, red, everything is captured in a single thing. So that will be a black and white image. And black and white images, they will be having a higher resolution. Much more higher detailing can be possible. So finer the spectral resolution, the narrow will be the wavelength range of a particular band. See, if we can see, we are having spectral resolution is 3. That means there is 3 bands are there within this particular wavelength range. Whereas here panchromatic, there is only single band between 0.4 and 0.7, which is the visible wavelength range. The same region, when we observe in panchromatic, looks like this, and when we create a multispectral image, we look like this. We can see the individual agricultural fields very clearly, the agriculture, the orchards, the different buildings, everything. You can see if when we observe a same region in different wavelengths, they vary. See, the same area is observed using a green reflectance, how it looks like. How it looks like in the near infrared region and the near infrared, the snow, how the snow looks like in NIR. There is a very high reflection. The snow appears very white, whereas in case of SWIR or the shortwave infrared region, snow appears very dark, whereas the clouds are highlighted. So these different combinations are used for the identification as well as discrimination of different features on the Earth surface. Here you can see the same area. So if suppose if we are traveling on a particular spacecraft, and if we look down, this particular area will look like this to us. Everyone agreed, right? This area will look like this. This is how we see the nature with our eyes. This is known as a true color composite. But there is another concept known as the false color composite also. The true color composite means we are having 3 bands, that blue, green, and red, and we see the blue, green, and red as such. So the color combinations will form this particular appearance. But in normal remote sensing community normally use another concept known as the false color composite. Here we can see, here we use infrared band also. We avoid the blue and we use the infrared, the red as well as the green, and we put the color. So whatever red color appearing in this particular image are actually reflectance in infrared band, because normally infrared we can't see. We can see infrared reflectance only when we give it some color. So this combination is widely used throughout the world by the remote sensing community for visual interpretation, because it can distinguish majority of the features occurring on their surface much more clearly than a true color composite. Then comes the radiometric resolution. It is the ability to discriminate very slight differences in energy. It's not of much. It's basically a sensor kind of thing. As a user, you need not worry much about the radiometric resolution if you are a general user or a preliminary user. And the take-home message is finer the radiometric resolution, the more sensitive it is to detect small differences in energy. In this particular image, there will be the gradations in the different colors. The sensor can detect only 16 different gradations. Whereas in this case, the very minute differences in color can also be captured. Whereas in this case, there are only two colors, whether it is white, whether it is black. There is nothing called gray in between. You can see. So 1 bit data means there are only two gray levels, whether it is black, the pixel is black or white. Whereas in 2, there is a pure white, pure black. In between, there are different shades of gray. And the other thing is the temporal resolution. Temporal resolution, it represents the frequency with which a satellite can revisit an area of interest and acquire a new image. That means, suppose, see, the same area, how it looks like. You can see this particular patch beyond the by the side of this particular river. You can see in February the area is very dry, and whereas in case of November, immediately after the rainfall, the area is lush. The vegetation is very healthy. So it is the frequency with which a satellite can revisit an area and acquire. It depends on the satellite to satellite. There are even satellites which can take multiple images of a same area on the same day, and there are satellites which comes once in a while around 16 days or 25 days or 24 days. It depends, and the choice of our data depends on our application also. So coming to the evolution of different remote sensing satellites, we started with in the year 1988 IIRS 1A list 312. From that we have ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. It has traveled a long journey by producing a lot of high quality world class satellites and sensors, providing data with even up to sub-centimeter. We even have 30 centimeter resolution satellite data with high repeativity. And these are the different IIRS satellite series starting from 78 meter, 188. Now we are having even panchromatic data of less than 1 meter resolution, which is very commendable and which is widely used by the remote sensing community throughout the world. So in this image, you can see how the same area looks under different resolutions. This is just for a visual purpose. You can see the different depth in the ocean also. You can see even the sprays, the flights which are parked in parked in an airport. All those things you can observe. You can clearly see. You can even see the individual flights. So this is the capability of remote sensing. You can see even Hyderabad. You can see the stadium the nearby railway station. You can even see the railway tracks, the railway platforms, and all those things, and the individual house tops, buildings, and all those things. And this is, if someone is interested, you can go. These are the many majorly widely used satellites and sensors. I am telling only about the freely available. There are many sensors which we need to give money to purchase the data, and these are the data which we can be freely downloadable for any date and any time. This is first one is a Landsat data. They are having the longest running enterprise. The data available even from 1970s, 1972, 1973. The data is continuously available at different resolutions. And nowadays, the Sentinel data, the spatial resolution of 10 meter, 20 meter, and 60 meter are freely available, and we get data every 5 days of a particular. And these are the links. If someone is interested, you can have a click and you can just open in your browser and you can have a view. And a lot more amount of sensors are available. The list of those are available in this particular link of ITC. So these are the different commercial satellites also are there, which give resolutions of 0.3 meter. That means every 30 centimeter minute resolution. That's a very high resolution data. So these are all paid satellites. If someone is interested, you need to pay some amount of money. And if someone may be having a curiosity from where we can get these free satellite imagery data sources. These are the first one is the Bhuvan, that is the Indian geo platform of ISRO for Indian satellite data and data products. This is the link. Then there is the USGS Earth Explorer, but it's a 40 years of Earth data in spectral bands is available. Then the Sentinel Data Hub for free high quality atmospheric data sets, the NOVA class. Then the digital elevation models, JAXA's Global Allows 3D World is available. Then the global land cover facility is also there, which derived global land cover. Then the digital globe. These are all the paid ones. A lot more amount of data. I have selected only the major players. And whenever we talk with remote sensing, there is something which comes along with that, like an addition that is known as the GIS. Because normally people don't talk only about remote sensing; they normally call it as remote sensing and GIS. So GIS is a computer-based system. It provides the four set of capabilities to handle geo-reference data. That means we can input, we can manage the data storage as well as retrieval, we can manipulate as well as analyze those particular data, as well as we can generate an output. So one thing is clear, there is we require a georeference data. What is meant by georeference data? Georeference data means it describes both the location and the characteristics of spatial features. That means everything on the surface of the earth, it has got a particular location, which we in our common language normally designate as latitudes as well as longitudes. Right? Every location. If your institute is located at particular latitude and longitude on the surface, similarly my institute, every object on this earth surface has got a location. That is known as the georeference, geographically reference. That means when we give that latitude and longitude, any person can locate the object without any ambiguity or any doubt. So how we can describe this world? Suppose one tree is located in Dehradun, suppose. So that tree is located at which location? That is latitude and longitude. That is known as the location. Where is it? That is the spatial part. And what is the height of the tree? It will be in centimeter. There will not be any latitude and longitude. So that is the attribute. Okay. What is the age? What is the species of the tree and all those things? So coming to the different components, there are different components like the hardware, the software, the data, the people, and all those things. And there are two different types of geographic phenomena. I will be just passing through this. So you can just see there are two different types. Geographic phenomena means which we can name as describe, and second thing is it can be georeference. That means it will have a single entity. If one tree is located at a particular latitude and longitude, no other object can occupy that particular object at the same time, right? And the geographic field means for every point in the study area a value can be determined. Suppose in case of slope, this particular area will have a slope of 45 degree, this will have 41, 42, 40, 40. Every point will have certain value, so that is known as a geographic field, which is basically continuous. For every point we can have certain value. And there are certain discrete fields also. If you see this particular thing, this image here, we can see the first thing is forest. So any point within this particular forest, it is having a value of forest. Whereas this particular area, every point will have an value of agriculture. Whereas in between these, every point will have a value of road. So that is a geographic field, but it is discrete. Whereas in case of geographic objects are they are basically distinguished bounded entities or objects populating the area, and the space between them is normally unimportant or undefined. Suppose if it is a building, we are going for a building mapping, we will be mapping only the buildings, not the area in between, right? And the beauty of GIS is that there are different types of spatial data models. That means how the computer represent the geographic phenomena. There are two different types. First one is the raster data model, and the second is known as the vector data model. Raster data model is basically all of our digital images, they are in the raster format. The grid size format is known as the raster data format. So each will be assigned with a number. Suppose if you see this particular image, all the pixels, all the area which is coming under corn, they are having a value of 1. Whereas all the things which comes under wheat, they are having a value of 2. All the things which are having a value of fruit, it is designated by the number 4, like that. And the other thing is the vector data model is that they mainly represent the discrete type of geographic fields or objects. And the beauty is that all the features on the Earth's surface, they can be distinguished or represented in the form of three types. First one is whether it can be a point, it can be a line, or it can be an area. Suppose a single building can be designated as a point. A road or a river can be designated in the form of a line, or a big park or a national forest or a national park, it can be designated in the form of a boundary. That is known as area feature. And within this, they are mainly we can have the attribute table. We can give the numbers like 1 indicates what, 2 indicates what, 3 indicates how much is the area, how much is the length. If you want to give name and all those things, we can add as in the form of an Excel sheet. So basically the GIS helps us to answer certain queries like what is located at a particular location, like the location, what is the condition of the tree, that means the age of the tree, what is the species, what is the trend pattern. Basically it helps us to answer many queries which are related to the geographical features. And there are certain other things known as the digital elevation data. Instead of a reflectance value on the surface, each pixel will give the height information with respect to the Earth surface or any mean sea level or whatever we designate. So it can be generated by using different types of surveys like ground survey, stereoscopic imagery, the laser scanning, the radar imagery, many other things. It depends on your purpose. For what purpose you want to use this, you can choose the data from. And if someone is interested, this is the list of the freely available digital elevation models. If someone wants to explore, you can go through this. And digital terrain analysis is basically using the terrain information for manipulation, interpretation, visualization, and various other applications. So this is basically the application basics of remote sensing. And what we do with this remote sensing data, we have different types of data obtaining from reference data, the air photograph, the digital data. So we will be going for visual as well as digital classification or interpretation. We will be generating different maps, statistics as well as the information products, and ultimately we will be using this for it will be used by certain users or decision makers for certain decision making. So coming to the image interpretation, that means we are having an image. We need to translate the image into information. That means we need to compute. So there are different types of classification, image interpretation, and strategies. The basic thing is the land use land cover classification system widely used. I will be showing the examples, so then it will be much more clear for everyone. This is the prime and most important application of remote sensing, that is a land use land cover classification, to classify at each location what it is. How we know that within 10 years the agriculture lands has reduced or increased, how whether the forest land has been increased or decreased, all those things are done by mapping only. So there are different types of mapping. The level one is we will be mainly going for the identification of built up only the agriculture land, the forest, the wasteland, water bodies. When we go to much detail within the agriculture land itself, we will be trying to identify the croplands, the fallow, the plantations also. And within the cropland also, the area cultivated only in the Kharif season, on Kharif and Rabi, the double crop season, all those things we can identify using different season data. And within the forest also, we can go for classification of evergreen, semi-evergreen, deciduous, and many other things. And level 3, in between that also, we will be going for identification of individual crops also. It depends on your purpose and for what purpose you are want to do the mapping. So the visual interpretation is that you just see the image, and based on your field expertise as well as the basics obtained from the remote sensing interpretation, you will be identifying the data. The visual interpretation is mainly based on certain image elements like tone, texture, shape, pattern, location, association, many other things. It's basically the color. If you clearly observe this particular image, the date is written in 14 February, how this particular area looks. In 3rd April, much drier season, majority of the forest, it's deciduous. That means majority of the leaves have been shed. You can see the tonal variations. In October, it is very bright because immediately after the rainfall season, there is a lush growth. This is of Dehradun Valley only. You can see in between there are rivers flowing, the Tons River and other rivers. Then you can see the forest patches. You can see the agricultural patches also. And you can interpret from the satellite image the shifting cultivation, how it looks like in nature and how it looks like from the image. The forest, the mangroves of Sundarbans, how they look like. Uh, you can see these rounded patterned fields, they are basically the orchards, and other fields are the agriculture. This is of Dehradun only. You can see the forest boundary, how it has degraded. You can see the terracing in the last image, how the terraced agricultural fields are located within the forest region. This is the forest FRI building located in Dehradun only. You can see the different features for the agriculture, the forest, the infrastructure, the building, everything. You can see how the Dehradun airport has progressed. In 2003, it's appearing as a very narrow strip. And in the year 2050, you can see there is it's a fully furnished and fully equipped airport has come into place. This is done by your interpretation. That means using your eye and your information and your background knowledge of the area, you are doing it. Whereas in case of digital image interpretation, its classification is done by computers, mainly by supervised classification as well as unsupervised classification, depending on. So using all these techniques, how you use this for agriculture, that is the main thing. The remote sensing has widely been used for agriculture mainly because of it gives a very global coverage. It can cover an entire district or even a very good panchayat in one go. It has a repeativity. We will be able to see a particular region repeatedly every 15 days or every 20 days. It gives very higher precision and accuracy. It's a very reliable technique. If someone wants to hide something, it's not possible. Once the satellite is in the air, we can't do anything. It will capture the image. It's cost effective also, then the eco-friendly, minimum harm to damage. Once it is sent to the space, there is less damage during the data acquisition, and ultimately all this is can be used for the development of various planning as well as implementation of various sustainable development activities. So coming to the different types of applications, we can compare them in the form of land use, land cover monitoring. Many of the things we have discussed, crop area estimation, what is the one of the most important activity going on in the country, agriculture, drought assessment and monitoring, horticulture crops, cropping system, soil mapping, pest and disease mapping, many other things. We will be seeing certain examples. We will be dealing with examples only right now. So the first application for which Indian spaceborne airborne data was used was mainly with agriculture only. It was conducted by ISRO and ICAR in 1969. They demonstrated how the airborne data, the sensor was carried on an aircraft, how it can be used for the identification of root wilt disease in coconut using aerial false color photographs. Since 1988, Indian remote sensing satellites, they are playing crucial role in Earth observation, mainly for agricultural applications and the crop forecasting activity. You might be knowing that this year India will be achieving this amount of 250 million tons of food grain production. Even before the harvest occurs, the government is releasing different forecasts. So all these things are mainly using the remote sensing data only. It is the biggest use. And the National Crop Forecast Center, Mahalanobis National Crop Forecast Center, located in Delhi, that is the nodal agency for crop forecasting activity in the entire country. And the land use land cover mapping. This is how the Uttarakhand land use land cover. You can see these are the products released by Indian Space Research Organization, National Remote Sensing Center. They are engaged in the land use land cover mapping activity of the entire country. I have taken for Uttarakhand to show the difference between how the this is the UP. You can see majority of the area is having different shades of yellow. Yellow indicates mainly the agricultural lands, crop land, agriculture plantation, and many other things. Whereas if we go to Uttarakhand, we can see majority of the area is having a greener shades. The green shades indicates the different types of forest like evergreen, semi-evergreen, deciduous forest, and other plantations. Right. And not only you can prepare the images like this, you can extract the statistics also. Within agriculture, how much is the cropland? This I have taken for Kanpur. How much is the cropland? How much is the fallow land in hectares or area, kilometer square? All these statistics you can generate. So if you have an image of, you have a data of 2010, and now you prepare a data of 2020, you will be able to differentiate how much is the area changes between two different classes. So whether the cropland has been converted into fallow, whether the fallow regions have been converted into plantations, or it can be converted into a forest, or forest has been degraded, everything you can compute. In detail, you can see these are the different legends. You can see the main city region, the roads, all those things you can map using remote sensing. And the different types of cropping seasons also can be identified, whether the region where only the predominantly kharif mapping region, the rabi crop, the double cropped region, all those things can be mapped along with statistics, which is widely used by the state as well as central governments for planning and implementation of various activities like irrigation scheduling and many other things. You can see the land use map of kharif season, land use map of rabi season. You can see the different crops. Yellow color indicates the rice, then the pink color indicates the sugarcane, the other crops, orchard, wheat, sugarcane, many other, depending on your application. Here, this is from US only, where the protected cultivation is practiced based on the sprinkler. These circular patterns are mainly caused because of the sprinkler irrigation pattern. So the different crops like barley, canola, oats, potato, all those things are under protected cultivation. And similarly, the crop identification as well as acreage estimation, not only classifying into agriculture and forest, we can identify the individual crops also. So this is a potato classified map. That means the area where the potato crop is cultivated of Nalanda using a Sentinel-2 data. And this is the field photograph of this particular area. So how much area the potato is cultivated, and depending on the historical data and the average yield, we can predict even before the season how much amount of potato, even before the harvest, how much amount of potato is going to be produced this year, and how much amount will be coming into the market, and all those predictions are based on this type of mapping. Then similarly, the mango crop, the banana, even the coriander area, coriander cultivation, the dry spices cultivation in the drier parts of Rajasthan, all these maps indicate the fields which are cultivated with these particular crops. And similarly, for the identification as well as the horticultural crops using remote sensing, orchard maps for the different states as well as the different districts they have been produced, and for the development of yield models, crop signature library, many other things are going. Coming to the crop yield modeling and estimation, the FASL, that is the forecasting agricultural output using space, agrometeorology, and land-based observations. They are mainly giving the national level production forecast for 9 major crops of the country. These are the different crops. So in this, both optical as well as the microwave remote sensing data is mainly used for acreage estimation using different modeling approaches. Various empirical, semi-empirical, as well as the physical process-based models are also used, and along with the different agrometric models and the climate data provided by the Indian Meteorological Department. So this is basically there. Normally we get, even before the sowing, there will be one forecast. Then during the season, early season, mid season, pre-harvest, and revised forecast. So these are all mainly very important for the planning as well as the formulation of various policies, like the import policy. If we know that this year the production is going to be very less, then the government will be taking measures for importing the different food grains or pulses or whatever things we are required from the different other countries. And not only with the crops, there have been attempts mainly for the mapping even of very commercial crops like the mint, menthol. For the menthol oil production, this study has been done by an RSC. In the Barabangi district, they have estimated the area which is cultivated under the menthol crop, and depending on the health of the crop, they estimated the health, what is the approximate health of the crop in the area, and depending on the ultimately how much amount of oil will be produced approximately from that particular area, and they can convert it into the monetary terms. This is with respect to the industrial purpose. Even with respect to sugar cane, the how much is going to be the sugar production from a particular catchment or a sugar mill. This is mainly for the production ability and for scheduling the operational activities of the various sugar mills also. They will be helping. So if they know that from their surrounding area this much amount of sugar cane is going to be produced, they will be speeding up, or they will be increasing the number of shifts in the factories and all. And coming to the another very important thing is the drought monitoring. Drought monitoring is very important because Indian agriculture is mainly a gamble, or it is at the mercy of the monsoon season. So they mainly assess the rainfall data and the past data, and they mainly give the uh, categorize the district as a sub district level into different categories of drought. There are different things goes into this agricultural, the rainfall data, the moisture data, the prehistorical data, and ultimately they give a drought category, where they will be classifying the districts into severe, moderate, or normal categories with respect to drought. And depending on that, the various measures or the reclamation measures or the support in terms of monetary as well as the other support from the government, their policies are depending mainly based on this categorization into based on drought. And these are basically the methodology which goes into that. You need not worry about this. And the impact of a drought on crop production, adverse impact. If there is a very severe drought, how much amount of agriculture production is going to be reduced, or it is going to be affected, that also is estimated. And not only with respect to drought, what is the impact the flood? If there is, suppose if there is very severe flood is going to happen, or it has happened, how much amount of crop production is going to be reduced, that can also estimate. This is taken from the, you might have heard about the Falin cyclone which occurred in the Odisha state. So they used a microwave data, sentinel aperture radar derived. They generated a rice crop map. It was integrated with the flood inundation map based on hydrodynamic modeling as well as the different practices, and they mapped the how much amount of rice cultivated area they are actually coming under the flooded area. So they know because of the flood, this much amount of area the rice crop is lost. So they can compute how much amount of reduction in the production of rice will be there, and so they can allocate. And they found that out of the 10 districts affected by the cyclone, the inundation or flooded inundation of the was more than 4% of the rice area. Suppose if there is 100 hectares, nearly 5 hectares under rice cultivation is flooded and the crop is damaged. So they found that nearly 15% of the rice production. So they can allocate the resources for the people in this particular area for various compensation measures and others. Similarly, the crop disease identification as well as mapping, it has also been attempted by different people. This is with respect to disease in mustard crop. This was done in Bharatpur. So there are n number of remote sensing techniques. Similarly, the soil moisture condition. As agriculture students, you might be knowing soil moisture is very important for agricultural crop production, and there are certain critical irrigation stages or critical stages. At that time, if the moisture available moisture is very less for the crop, then the crop yield can be severely affected. With respect to in case of the ground root initiation, in case of wheat and all, they are very critical stages. If there is any issue in those particular region, the entire crop growth will be affected. So you can see in between the rows, in between the crops, they have prepared the maps. They have prepared the crop map, and between what is the soil moisture index. The blue regions, they are having very high soil index. These are regions which are having the sprinkler irrigation, and other area they are mainly based on the row based irrigation as well as the rainfall. In between the rows of the crops also, there are different sensor technologies. They can be used for precision agriculture or the precision irrigation water management. So if you know in this particular moment or this particular stage, this is the moisture amount, you can, in case of water scarce regions, and for resource conservation or the precision agriculture practices, you can widely use this particular. And similarly, this remote sensing has also been widely used for identification of desertification or the land degradation status. I have shown only for the country. You can see the area which are prone to erosion, vegetation degradation, the salinity, all those things. The salinity, you can see the UP region, they are having, as well as the Gujarat coast, they are having high cases of saline soils. Whereas in case of vegetation degradation, Uttarakhand, then similarly erosion also in the hilly stages. Similarly, with respect to the soil property mapping also, remote sensing has widely been used, especially with respect to soil salinity mapping. You can see this particular image. These white patches, they are basically the saline or the salt affected regions. These are from the Madhura region of Uttar Pradesh. So using different techniques, you can map the electrical conductivity. You might be quite familiar with pH, electrical conductivity, exchangeable sodium percentage and all you will be doing in the practicals. So they are basically used for the characterization of salt affected soils. And similarly, the spatial distribution within this particular area, the different categories of salts, they can also be mapped using various spectral libraries. Similarly, the different soil properties, not only the salinity, the organic carbon mapping, the clay mineral distribution, the one, whether it is a 1:1 type of clay mineral, 2:1 type of clay mineral, they can also be at has been also been successfully attempted by various researchers using remote sensing data. This can also be used for a precision agriculture for a regional planning purpose, whether this area is having this type of clay. So this type of particular crops, the crops which are suitable for those type of clay minerals, they can be suppose in case of black cotton soils, they are mainly for cotton crops. We can't cultivate certain other crops in this particular area because of the particular characteristics of the soil as well as the clay minerals in the soil. So this planning, all these purposes can be done based on these different types of minerals. Similarly, the spatial distribution, it's a very small area of a watershed. How the organic carbon varies within this particular area. You can see this particular, the top portion, they are having higher amount of organic carbon. So we need to adjust our rate of application of fertilizers or manures. We need to add a slightly higher amount in the lower portion, and you can reduce the amount in the top portion. This is with respect to a resource conservation point of view. Similarly, the clay content with respect to the various agricultural practices as well as irrigation and the fertilizer scheduling, you can see these portions, they are having the higher clay content and the lower clay content. These can also be mapped. The different types of soil, the taxonomic groups can also be mapped within a particular area using remote sensing and GIS applications. And coming to the last part of this thing, widely used in case of precision agriculture. You might have seen this type of combined harvesters operating in the various large agricultural tracks. They can be easily mounted with GPS antenna on the combined harvesters. So from each particular point in the same field itself, each particular point, how much is the grain output based on the antenna and the sensors you fitted in the combined harvester, they can prepare an yield map. So within this particular entire plot, each particular location, what is the yield? What is the difference in the yield within this? It's obvious that within a single field also, every region may not be having the same yield. So we can have a record of the spatial yield variability within this particular field or a farm. And the GPS data coupled with yield data, it can be used to produce yield map. You can see, you can prepare the high yield zones So you may know that the what has happened. You can go for some in-depth analysis whether the soil properties has been varying between this portion and red and the green portions, and it can be used for various precision farming agriculture practices. You can see the yield, how it varies in this particular yield. This area is having very low yield, and where the green region, they are having the very high yield. Similarly, with respect to wheat crop is also being practiced by different people. And another one of the important thing, especially with respect to hilly regions like Dehradun, Uttarakhand, Himachal, and all, is the watershed studies. The use of remote sensing and GIS mainly for watershed delineation as well as characterization. And further, these inputs can be used for the planning as well as implementation of various soil and water conservation practices, soil erosion modeling, and many other activities. So that's it in short. I hope I didn't cross the time. So if you have any queries, we can take few queries.
पांडे सर अपना माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए.
So remote sensing, it's a very vast subject, and I have just touched upon the topics, the simple basics of remote sensing, what we look in a remote sensing image and other things, and what are the various applications various people have been used in the research as well as in the various operational projects in the country. Many of the things are available in the open domain in the Google also. If many interested people can just search for it.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, sir.
Justin, are you able to listen me?
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm able to hear you.
Hello? Justin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, now able to listen me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have completed it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thanks for giving the webinar. And next speaker is Dr. Suresh Kumar. So I request Dr. Suresh Kumar to come. I request to students to stay, and Dr. Suresh Kumar will come within few minutes.
around. हाँ, कैमरा तो हाँ कर्टन तो दिखाई दे रहा है आपके उसमें लाइव में, पर मैं क्यों नहीं दिखाई? अच्छा, मैं कैसे मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि मेरा कैमरा ऑफ कैसे है। अ, एक मिनट। तो ऐसा तो कभी हुआ नहीं। जी।
Welcome to Dr. Suresh Kumar. I have already introduced to participants that Dr. Suresh Kumar is having wide experience on use of remote sensing, and today he will deliver the webinar on applications of remote sensing in watershed management. Good morning and wish you all the best. Happy New Year, Dr. Suresh Kumar. I am not able to listen, Dr. Suresh Kumar. Your voice, I am not able to listen.
Yeah, happy
Yes,
New
now,
Year, same to you, all the participants and Dr. Pandey ji. Eh? My voice is not coming.
now it is coming. Now coming. सुरेश जी अब सुनाई पड़ रहा है.
My voice is
I am able to hear you
listening me.
clearly.
Hello.
Hello? नहीं आ रहा. हेलो। हाँ, आवाज आ रही है। सो नाउ डॉक्टर सुरेश कुमार, यू कैन स्टार्ट। You are visible and
हाँ, हेलो।
hello.
Yes. Okay.
Slides I am not able to see, but you are visible. आप दिख रहे हैं, जो प्रेजेंटेशन और स्लाइड है वो नहीं दिख रही है अभी।
Hello. I am just sharing, but I don't know how your entire screen sharing. मेरी स्क्रीन आ रही है, नहीं आ रही?
स्क्रीन नहीं आ रही है अभी।
क्या आ रहा है? शेयर स्क्रीन तो करता हूँ। अब ये नहीं दिख रहा है। उसको एक्टिवेट नहीं करता है। पर इसमें तो नहीं है ना बिजली डालना हाँ इसकी सेम हाँ अब तो नहीं अब हो रहा वैसे नहीं ये यहाँ से कुछ है इसकी यार फ्रॉम ये ऐसे इसको कर जाएगी यहाँ लेके बढ़ेगा अरे मैं पहले ले जाता हूँ हाँ, अब आ रहा है तो ठीक है, आवाज आ रही है उसमें?
हाँ, आ गया आ गया आ गया। Yes.
Yes.
So now, because of some technical snag, there is a little bit delayed, and now we can see easily, and also the visibility is very good. Now I request to Dr. Suresh Kumar to proceed for his topic on the application of remote sensing in watershed management. Thank you. Over to Dr. Suresh Kumar.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pandey, and I I also welcome to all the course participants or participants for this national webinar seminar on which meeting through virtually. They said I am one hour the lecture is delayed because of some technical problems, and I hope you are connected now. Still, thanks for joining this this lecture. I will be discussing on the remote sensing and Geospatial GIS applications in watershed management. If you see remote sensing, GIS, and geographic position system with target GPS are together three technology we know as geospatial technologies. And so in the morning sessions, by just George, you may have been told about the remote sensing GIS and GPS. So uh, you are little bit aware of that one. It is see that why we need remote sensing, because remote sensing is a tool, and it's not just as a technology, is a tool which provides us real time information to generate very big design reports. And remote sensing provides us reliable information of natural resources, which is the natural resources that your land, water, forest, geology, human could be all the natural resources. And we can map these resources with very reliable and very accurately, and we can see the current state of degradation because the resources we are using. So it is also degrading, degrading, and we need to stop this degradation so that we can use for the future. You see that uh, in just giving a very brief of the remote sensing, for having a satellite remote sensing which is operating at the height of the Indian remote sensing satellite resource set, which is equivalent current resource set to the current satellite, which is orbiting at 817 kilometer height. Hello. What is solution? I saw this talk today. What we can manage any other मैं किसी टाइम ऑफिस में अवेलेबल हूँ, तो कभी भी ऑफिस में रख सकते हो, तो वहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम आएगी तो वहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम आएगी।
There is some disturbance and some technical problems and technical snags. We could not be able to connect with Dr. Suresh Kumar. And this webinar, the topic for the application of remote sensing in watershed management, we will do it in the next week or in some other week that will be communicated to my students. Inconvenience which is caused is regretted. I hope you will bear with us. Now, Dr. Mishra will give a vote of thanks to Dr. George Justin and Suresh Kumar also. He tried very well, but we could not be able to establish contact with him properly. So now I request to Dr. Mishra.
इसमें कुछ नहीं आएगा।
आएगा वो आप नहीं कर सकते, आप नहीं कर सकते। आप कर बोलिए।
Thank you, Pandey sir. Honorable Chairman Sir Shri Arvind Gupta ji, respected Mr. Justin, scientist, IIRS, Dehradun, and all the participants. Wish a happy New Year 2021. It is a great honor for me to propose a vote of thanks to all those learned personality who have witnessed it as a memorable and successful national webinar on basics of remote sensing. Today, I on my behalf and on behalf of organizing committee extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Justin George K. for delivering highly valuable lecture and interactive session to all of us. You have explained in detail about the basic of remote sensing and application of remote sensing. Sir, in spite of your extremely busy schedule, you readily and happily agreed on such short request and took out valuable time out of your busy schedule, sharing with participants extremely important information and practical understanding about basics of remote sensing. I am sure students must have been benefited immensely. I must mention of deep sense of appreciation to Mr. Justin George K. Thanks, sir. I also wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Shailajapan, Principal, Dr. Arun Kumar, Director, Dolphin Institute, Mr. Vinod Nagpalji, Mr. Sunil Kaul, Joint Director, and Mr. Vipul Garg, Dean Dolphin, Dr. C.S. Pandey sir, HOD Agriculture, Mr. Upendra Dwivedi, Mr. Arnav Khandaji, Mr. Anuj Gupta, Mr. Shailendra Tiwari, Dr. Virendra, and Mr. Pankaj, Department of Agriculture, Dr. Shruti Sharma, IQAC, and last but not the least, Mr. Sujit TK and his team for all-time technical and untiring support in organizing this webinar. I am very grateful to Shri Arvind Gupta ji, Chairman DIVNS, for giving us an opportunity to organize this webinar. I heartily congratulate all the participants for their interest and response with their active participation in this webinar. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to agriculture faculty. Big thanks to all our volunteers. Thank you to all those who contribute in this event directly or indirectly. Thank you one and all. Have a wonderful and joyful day. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Of course.